Who's my darling? Who's my darling kitty? Yes, you are a good boy. Goodness, goodness, goodness. You must get comfortable. We'll have guests shortly. Gives us a moment though to get sorted, which I think we need a bit. So, hello everyone. Hello, it is I, Madame Askew. It's 1,000,000 degrees here. It's very warm. It's in the upper 30s, probably around 40 degrees Celsius. 106 was the high today here in balmy Tucson in the Sonoran Desert, at the bungalow. We're here right now in the workshop of doom, and it is of course dear Monsieur Gâteau and I, and darling Fiona is over here in her normal spot napping. She's very happy. So today we're going to be working with Bodice a little bit, and I wanted to get started a bit early just so everyone would have a chance to sort of come into the space. Hello June, hello Rebecca, happy early birthday Rebecca. I know that's coming up soon and it's a big birthday this year. June, I'm early because I'm impatient to see everyone, but you have infinite time to get your IPA. I'm not going to say anything very important until after the 6 o'clock hour. So, but I was all set, and Monsieur Gâteau is all set, and so I just wanted to get started. You can see he's assumed the workshop position, ready for pets, ready for cuddles, and very ready for treats. Honestly, that's the main thing. The big interest here is treats. So yes, you're a good boy. Oh my goodness. Oh, you're so lovely. Look at you. Look at you. He's been very affectionate all day. He's looking a little bit wild about the edges. There we go. So yes, I am a few moments early, but you have all the time you need to get sorted. Hello Alicia, thank you very much. Monsieur Gâteau is the most adorable creature. He's such a love, and he is also my little, I'd call him my sort of jester of the house. He's very funny and likes to get up to tricks, don't you? Yes. Oh good, June is ready. Excellent. Beer engaged, June. I feel like you had the right idea. Tonight I'm having Thai Fu in my delightful Freddie Mercury mug, my favourite, and it's very warm. So a beer sounds lovely. Hello fairy godmother, I hope you are feeling more the thing. I know you've been feeling a bit poorly, so it's good to see you here. And yes, good evening. Good. Yeah, so tonight we're going to be tackling the bias, and I hope that we will at least get as far as pinning and steaming it in place on the opening edge and maybe stitching it. I probably have about an hour in me tonight. Normally I shoot for 2, but I'll be honest, my back continues to plague me, and it is plaguing me a great deal today actually, so I don't know how long I will manage, but I'm going to go as far as we can. And I want to get that far, fingers crossed, because I would like to get you to the point where on our next session I can show you how to hand finish that bias if you'd like to hand finish it. I'll also talk to you about machine stitching it, and we might do a little bit of both so you can see both ways. But I would like to show you how to hand finish it for those of you who would like to do those hand stitches. Oh my goodness. Monsieur Gatto says, enough chatting. Time for the treats, woman. Oh my goodness, you're so persnickety. Hello, Wendy Heartline. Ah, hello, Ivy. I'm glad you made it. And that's lovely that you're helping your sister make a dress. That's wonderful. There you go. There you go. Sweet boy. So, no, Susan, I won't be Coffee. I won't be teaching people to stitch in the ditch on the bias. It is actually not a very nice finish for something that's going to be visible, and I'm going to be showing some nice finishing either by hand or with a nice top stitch. So, stitch in the ditch is it's a very casual sort of finish. So. And that's all right for some things, but it will not look very professional with this garment. So it's my job to show you the best way to do things. Oh my goodness, yes, I'm hoping, June, that it will rain. The light here by the bungalow looks right for rain, and I feel a little bit more humidity in the air, maybe like 5 or 10%, optimistic, but it was very black to the south of the bungalow, and the clouds were just banking, so hopefully there will be some rain, fingers crossed. Yeah, no, if it rains, all of us here in Tucson may have to go out and dance in it. So no, Wendy, no, it's not too much. No, I expect cheekiness here, and I not only expect it, but I look forward to it, especially when I'm feeling a little bit under the weather. Not COVID under the weather, but my back refuses to be cooperative under the weather, and I am very frustrated that it keeps being so persnickety. So it is very, very wearying, to say the least. So I'm just swapping out my bobbins here for the right colour threads. I'm going to show you 2 ways to join your bias before we go and pin it in place and prep it for stitching onto the neckline. So this is a really interesting finish where you sew the bias right side to right side on the garment, and then it goes completely to the back of the garment and will be hidden unless you choose stylistically that you wish the bias to be visible as a sort of artistic decorative element. The pattern calls for you to move the bias to the back. So that means if you do a slip stitch and a nice hand finish, that you can have your work completely invisible. If you are doing a machine finish, it's a bit different. So, but that will be next week or next session, maybe on Thursday, depending on weather and my back and all the things. Normally we try and have a session on a Sunday, but this week on Sunday we have book club, so I hope you'll all join me there. Oh my goodness, yeah, no, Ivy, I have heard that Iowa and Ohio and that whole part of the northern Midwest are really being hit with some extremely dramatic weather from a hurricane, which is shocking. I am so glad you're all right. 19 hours without power is something I've experienced, and it is not fun. So Hello, Autumn. You haven't missed anything much yet, actually. Just some general chit chat and preparation. We're going to be working on bias today. I'm going to show you how to stitch your bias together, and also how to steam it into place, pin it into place along your neckline to prepare it for stitching it. The first phase of inserting your bias. Now the second phase is how you finish it, which I'll do in another session, because I'd like to show you how I like to hand finish the bias. And we've had some really delightful cheeky jokes about hand finishes, so I suppose you missed that part. It was wonderful. So oh, Alicia, yeah, no, I'm so sorry about your shoulder. It's easy on these injuries to push them a little bit fast, a little bit too hard, and I don't know if I've been too adventuresome with my back. It doesn't feel like I've done anything too extreme, but it was just enough, I suppose. Doing dishes again. Making myself luncheon, you know, pouring tea, all of those wild activities, just enough to do me in. So, and then to sit at the machine really reminds me of what's going on. So, Selena, I am glad you made it. You made it. I started a few moments early, but no one missed anything important. Just some cute moments with cake. So right, oops, you know what really helps is if I turn on the machine. Ooh, oh dear, what's going on there? Nope, that will not do. Little jam in the bobbin. Oh, wonderful. It is certainly that sort of day, isn't it? Alright. You know what that means? It means we have to undo everything and do a quick clean of ye old bobbin, the sort of the carriage area. So I can certainly show you what I'm doing if you want to see. I know I've demonstrated this before, but some of you may have missed me cleaning things out. Whew. My goodness. Thank you, Fairy Godmother. A Dureco. I have also never heard that term before, Lady June Squirrel. I'm deeply curious. And as you can see, I also have to have my extra device so I can see your comments. Alright, I'm presuming, as no one has spoken up, that you don't need to see me do the tedious bit of cleaning out the bobbin carriage area. But I'll take a sip of tea, give it another moment just in case. I know there's about 30 seconds to 60 seconds lag. Oh my goodness. Oh, lovely. Dear old Typhoo. Alright. I've been making a few masks and they are very lint producing, especially if you just sit around and are sort of churning them out in stages. I tend to do a whole bunch to one stage and then set them aside, and then the next day I do the next stage, and I just sort of assembly line it that way. It's a bit faster. Wasn't that filthy, but it was just enough. right. Sometimes I think the machine just wants a little bit extra attention as much as anything, and I've been really abusing it quite a bit. Oh, thank you, June. A Dureco. I've also never heard that term. Something new. Does it come in off the Great Lakes then, rather than the ocean? I know they're quite large enough to have their own tides and create their own weather. I've only ever seen the edges of, I think, 2 of them though. Oh no. Alright, it's fine. Goodness. Well, I was all ready to go and then my machine decided to be recalcitrant. Hopefully we'll actually get some sewing in and not just me talking about my machine being difficult. So, rather irksome. Alright, listen you. Let's try again. Dureco. All right. Thank you. Thank you, June. What a fascinating term. Now I shall have to look up the history and the etymology. I dropped my bobbin cover because of course I did. Oh my goodness. Such is the way. Personally, I found that the more my back is irking me, the more pain I'm in, the more difficult the sewing machine becomes. So, no, sometimes it's like that. However, I would at least like to get to a certain point with all of you. So, let's talk sewing this bias together. So last Tuesday, when we met last, we cut bias and we talked about stitching it, but we did not stitch it. So this week I'm going to show you 2 different ways of stitching your bias strips together. I have this set with square ends. I have squared them off from the diagonal or bias cut ends, and I'm putting them together, right sides together, and lining up my edges like so, so you can see. Alright, and I'm going to be stitching in a diagonal right across. Now I don't use pins for this, but you may wish to, which is perfectly fine. You should always do the thing that works best for you. You are the final arbiter of what the right decision is. Yeah, we want our stitches to be Dureco as well, yes. No, you know, I keep thinking about making a sewing corset, something really simple and easy to put on that's like a front lacer or something like that rather than back lacing. When my back is out like this, trying to lace into my own corset is not grand, I'll be honest. So, alright. I'm going to bring you in so you can see what I'm doing. I have pinned it so you can see how I would pin it if I were going to pin it. Again, normally I don't. Right, let's see if Phil will cooperate. There we go. You can see I've got it lined up so I can sew down the diagonal of that diamond area, and I'm just going to do a nice little tight straight stitch. You don't want to do it as tightly as you would on, let's say, a buttonhole, but you do want to make it a little shorter than your normal, to help it be snug and secure, as you don't want your bias seam to come out. I swear to Pete, if I've done this wrong. I did. I sewed it together wrong. We all get to learn together. Madame Askew is fallible. I've sewn it together wrong. So let's do that again, shall we? How fun. That is, however, the technique. There you go, back in your nice little cradle with Phil, who's now going to not cooperate at all. Alright, good, lovely. Oh dear. My stitching was very nice and should make it really difficult to unstitch. Self-lacing corsets sound wonderful. Yeah, no, thank you, June. Please tell me if I am making a grave error. I would say that my cognition is not quite up to par right now. Alright, let's try that again. I combined two different techniques so that I could have entirely the wrong technique. So good. Oh dear. Well, so it goes. Let's try that again. Made for a really nice A-frame. It's lovely. So yeah, no, Ivy, I am familiar with fan lacing, and it's a wonderful suggestion. However, I have yet to find a really helpful diagram for lacing in that way, and so the ones I found get you a little ways in and usually drop off. They don't finish the lacing pattern, or the directions are very muddled, or I found one that was sort of good, but the woman who was doing the tutorial did it as a video and you couldn't hear a single word she said, and she never focused the camera on the actual lacing, so it's like focused over her head at a wall and you never saw the work. Right, so let's try this again. Right sides together, ends matching this way. I'm so sorry. Is that right? Now I'm second guessing myself. I'm not sure I can do this tonight. Normally this is so easy. Oh, Selena, I'm so delighted. That's wonderful news. That's really good. So I'm just going to cheat for now because I do not feel well. So this is your easy, very easy straight stitch across, right sides together, and your bias. So let's look at the more complicated way that I normally do. And hopefully my brain will not betray me this time. Good. All right. Now then. Oh, Alicia, clearly you do. You poor thing. Yeah, that works, June says. Yes, it works. It's not the best option, but it is the one that gets us through right now. And as I am feeling, as I said, a bit not quite the thing, I don't want to spend too much time on that, as I really do want to take us over to the ironing board and look at what I think is the much more critical piece, pinning the bias in place and pressing it so that you get it to shape nicely to your neck. So now then, this is the way I normally do, which I tried to do with square ends and it did not work. Right sides together on the diagonal. I always check, make certain it looks nice. I have my ends offset just a wee bit. Can you see that? So one end, the other end just offsets a little bit. Yeah, no, it won't show. You're right, June, it will not. Now, I normally do a fairly narrow seam. I will show you here just a moment. I go from point, sort of intersection to intersection. I'm afraid that's not going to make the most sense ever, so let's take a look here. I'm going to sew point to point where that little V is. That's my stitch line all along. See my little stitch there, and how I went from that little V to the other little V. Makes a nice little finish. Let's look at how that bias looks, shall we? Come on, Phil. Someday, Phil, you will be replaced. Alright. And then we have a really nice looking bias finish there. That's sort of the nicer finish, and this is the one I normally do, although today anything's possible. Then I like to trim off the excess. If it's not perfect, that's alright. Just trying to get it to look pretty nice. So once I've trimmed it, it looks pretty nice. You can't really see that seam so much, and all the bias is intact, and this is the one that's going to go in very nicely along my collar opening. So thank you, Fairy Godmother. I will probably tap out about 7 my time. Oh, apparently the amount of back pain is starting to seep into my voice, so But look who's here. And full of opinions, aren't you? Yes, you are very sweet. Hello, you sweet thing. Oh my goodness. She's full of love. So now I'm going to extricate myself from this little spot, and we're going to be moving into our ironing board location so that we can do the ironing. Now, Miss Fiona is full of opinions always, aren't you? Oh yes, sing the song of your people. And very vocal kitty, and this is her new favourite spot in the workshop, which is actually on top of my pile of mending. She claimed the velvet capelet for herself very, very helpfully. Yes, yes, you are my very helpful kitty. Oh my goodness, and so talkative. Alright, yes, but you must keep everyone company while I adjust things, alright? Can you do that? Maybe. Yes. She'll give it the old college try. Oh, yes, you're a good kitty. Good kitty. So talkative. Are you on your best behaviour? There you go, you're a good puss. Good puss, alright. Good girl. Oh my goodness. Well, apparently she's had quite enough of that. So now let's see if we can make this bit happen with some ease. This is always the tricky part. Moving across the space and not giving all of you motion sickness. All right. But now you have Monsieur Gâteau. Who's a good kitty? Who's my good boy? Yes, you are. I know. You're lying on the fabric too and everything. Who's a good boy? All right. Okay, very good. So we're going to be ironing and pinning. So I brought you over to my little ironing station, and also where Monsieur Gâteau is taking a little nap at the moment. Of course, he's very helpfully set up shop on top of the very fabric I wish to be pinning to. I'm so sorry. I know, I'm the worst mummy. Alright, there you go. Alright. So at this point, I have my bodice shoulders seams done. I have my darts all in place. I've stay stitched those front edges, so it's all ready to have my lovely little bias tape put in place. And overall I'm really happy with how I've lengthened it. I'm pretty pleased with the placement of all my darts and everything, and of my gathers, so I think it's going to be a really nice fit when I get done with it. It's a little bit crinkled. It looks like some kitty has been lying on it. So everyone probably has their own preference for how they like to do these sorts of tasks. I really like to start with my bias in the centre back of my neck, and I like to line up that seam at centre back. I will show you here in a moment roughly what I mean. I think Selena mentioned that she has gotten through her pattern adjustments, which is really good. It's not quite to this point in the project. Totally fine. You do not have to keep pace exactly with where I'm at. If you are feeling concerned about a bit of the project, I encourage you to wait. We'll get there. Or to just ask me questions in the group. If you are not at the step we're at, then you'll get here eventually, and the videos will be here when you're ready for them. If you are ahead and you've finished, good on you, I'm very proud of you. So, all right. So I'm going to pull you in here so you can see a bit more what I'm doing. We're going to be pressing and turning the bias to get it to match some of the curvature on the garment. And this is a little bit easier to do with bias you've cut for yourself, as it's more willing to curve than bias that is ready-made, and I think some of that is just how they cut it, but also there's a bit more polyester. It's like a cotton poly blend usually. So let's see here if you can really see what I'm doing. Alright, I think you've got a good angle there. So this is centre back, and I've just pinned that right there, centre back. Sometimes, depending, I will use clips. If you use the clips, however, you need to press then clip, because the clips will melt. They are plastic. So I'm going to press a little bit along this curve that I want, and curve my fabric as I go. Do you see how that made a nice curve? And it's already wanting to turn up a bit. I feel like bias, especially in this context, it's a little bit like magic. You make straight fabric curve beautifully. If you've taken any corsetry workshops with me, You will have seen some of this in preparing the binding on your corset as well. I'm just going to press over that again. I do use glass head pins, which will not melt. Very important. This is honestly the hardest part. Oh, I just pressed out my pins. This is the hardest part, is this little curve here at the back. Once you get past the curve, it's just straight sailing. Very easy. But it's also why I like to start at the back and do the curve first. Yes, it's the tricky bit. Hello, Charity. Oh, Robin, good luck talking to crazy people. Curve ironing is a trick, and it's something I've practiced over years, so I feel a bit more confident with it. But when I got it started with sewing, it was so arcane, it felt like black magic. Yeah, no, the FBA is probably the trickiest bit of adjustment on the garment. But I will tell you what, once you've done it, first of all, you'll have a master. You'll have a master forever, Selena. You can make this pattern up anytime you want now that you've done it. Look at that, so nice. And I'm just going to pin that in place. I'm much less concerned about this front edge here. Oops. Although I did pin to my ironing boards. This bit is all just straight, so it doesn't really need to be pressed into shape, although I'm going to press out some wrinkles. Hello, Duchess Fiona, so talkative. I like a few sort of pins to keep it from wiggling out of place, or a few clips at this point. It's just all your personal preference. So once I've done this side, I'm going to go and do the other side. Easy peasy. You've seen it once, but I'll show you twice. And Fiona will sing to us. Oh, goodness. Well, Charity, I have made many a mistake, which has allowed me to learn many a thing, and I'm so happy to share my hard-won lessons. I remember when I first attempted putting bias in something curved, I just put it in cold and pinned and pinned and pinned and just sort of forced it into shape and hoped for the best, and it was such a nightmare. I thought, oh, this is the worst, I hate it. But now I use bias so often to finish so many projects. I love it for seam bindings and hem finishes and decoration and all sorts of things. And of course I make a lot of corsets, and you really need a good bound edge for most corset work. That's the way I tend to finish all of mine. I want you all to know that I do have a cushioned pad here by the ironing board, so I'm not just standing on tile floors, but I feel it. So you can see how the bias is being a little bit persnickety here. So I'm just going to stretch it out with my fingers and go in there, press between my hands. Try not to burn your hands. I mean, safety first. Try not to burn your hands. It's very hot. You should use a hot steamy iron for this so that you can sort of shrink your bias into position. But try not to scorch your hands. I have one little bit that's being really persnickety, so I'm just going to go over it again. Alright, good. No, Fiona is a very talkative girl. She's more talkative than Cake, actually. Most of you would not have had the opportunity to meet him, but my dearly departed Piero, who's a beautiful black slinky kitty who charmed everyone, he was the most talkative cat, and he had so many opinions all the time, and he loved chicken deeply. No chicken was safe near him. Once again, I'm just pinning to keep things from slipping around on me. Alright, so now we've done the really hard bits. We've cut our bias, we've stitched our bias together, and we've pinned it and pressed it in place. The next step is just to stitch your bias tape in place here, 5/8 inch from the edge, and then you're going to go in and trim that up after you've finished your stitching. So it's very, very easy, straight stitch, your normal stitch at this point. Those are really the tricky bits, the putting your bias together and pressing it into place. And you'll see that I do have more pins here at the neck edge than I do along the straight bits of the bias, and that is absolutely because that curve needs reinforcing. It needs to be told who the butler is. The butler is the bias tape, not me. So so hopefully, oh dear, hello Phil, what are you doing? That's Phil's doing some new things. Oh, how unhelpful, Phil. All right, let's not do new things, Phil. So so hopefully that gave you some ideas about your next couple of steps. These are, I think, for some people they can be a little bit unnerving, especially if it's your first time working with bias. So I really wanted to take plenty of time with the bias bits for those of you who are more beginning. But even, I found even intermediate and advanced sewists who've had lots of headaches with bias tape. So if you've made a number of garments and you've been avoiding bias tape because you've had terrible experiences with it, I hope this has been a bit of a help for you as well. Charity? What? Alicia? Oh, clearly your husband is incorrect. Right, no, you must have the kitties to help you sew. Clearly, that is absolutely accurate. Oh my goodness, no, I can't imagine managing without my kitties. So, goodness. Alright, so when next we meet, which I hope will be Thursday, so that we can get a bit more in this week. June, I probably will sew from the centre down to the ends, although I have also done it from end to end. And in this particular garment, that's been fine because it's such a forgiving garment. But if I'm dealing with a bodice that has more curve, more shapeliness, any of my sort of like fitted bustle dress bodices, it's very good idea to sew from centre back down one side, and then start at centre back and work down the other side. Part of that is a tension thing, I think, but also it helps you ease out the curve in the same way as you're going down both of those sides. So with this one, it's sort of, you know, dealer's choice. You can go end to end because it's such a forgiving garment. The curve is not so extreme in the back. It probably will not offset on you a lot. If you want to be more particular about your insertion, then I would follow June's suggestion. Start centre back, go centre back down the right, centre back down the left, or vice versa. That part doesn't matter. Just working from the centre outwards. Oh, Alicia, that's great. I love that. The Ghost of Richelieu. That's delightful. So, right, any other questions before we wrap up tonight? I don't want to leave you hanging, but also we've talked ad nauseum. I am having a little bit more back irritation than expected. Oh, poor Samantha. Well, that's a fair cop to not like the basement. I did not like the basement at Grandmama's, I must admit. It's where she kept the most mysterious items. Oh, Charity, you will find them though. They are there. They're just hiding. They're playing hide and go seek at the moment, but give them just a little bit of time and they will be coming out of the proverbial sewing machine closet. And then all of these videos will be here, but also do please ask questions in the group. If something I've said during a video, especially tonight when I'm not quite as sharp as normal, if something I've said does not make entirely sense, or I've confused you, as I made at least one grave error early in the evening. Oh no, bias tape is very tricky, but once you learn some tricks with it, it's so helpful. So what we will be doing when next we meet is preparing it for finishing. So I'll be doing some stitching between now and then, and once we're there, there'll be some more ironing, and then I will show you my favourite way to hand finish, which is generally how I like to do this, because I like the invisible nature of those stitches. But you can also do a really nice top stitch with it, and I might break out the double needle to show you how I would do something really fancy with the top stitching. So we'll see what comes. Do watch for a video on Thursday, however, and then I do hope you will also join me Friday for tea, the Grand Arbiter Saturday for tea, and most importantly book club on Sunday. Alex Axe will be there to discuss their book with us, and I'm really excited to meet them and to talk about this wonderful anthology with them. It's been really just a charming read. So, and thank you very much, Robert, for sharing the Patreon. It was very quiet last week during Gish. There are some posts incoming, so watch for those. As I like to share every time, the Patreon is what enables us to have the sew-alongs, to have all of these live streams, and to make a great deal of content. So thank you to everyone who's been so kind to subscribe to the Patreon. and to help make these things possible. And thank you to all of you for being stalwart members of our community and part of this wonderful summer sew along. I cannot wait to see your caftans this summer. All right. Yes, everyone, please take very good care. Fairy godmother, I look forward to these tales of the drunken spiders stitching caftans in basement bars. I'm not going to say it won't show up in one of my stories too, so be forewarned. There could be some caftan knitting spiders in the future. So alright, then I shall wish you all a very good night. Please remember, stay home if you're able. If you must go out, wear a mask, wash your hands, take care of yourselves. You are an irreplaceable treasure, and I adore all of you. I will see you later this week. Take good care. Thank you so much for your company tonight and your patience, as clearly I'm out of sorts. So